All right, folks, glad to be with you. Today is Saturday, May 16th, 2020. This is Joe Imbriano coming to you live from the studios of the Fullerton Informer here in Fullerton, California. And I want to thank you to the broadcast. Let's just give it a moment for everything to kick in here. Hopefully you'll get your notifications. Once again, this is Joe Imbriano, P.O. Box 4121, Fullerton, California, 92834. On the web at thefullertoninformer.com, wifidangers.com, vaxdangers.com, celltowerdangers.com, and a whole bunch of other websites, folks. Just all here, 60gigahertzdangers.com too, while we're at it. Well, I want to report to you today from Huntington Beach. I spent a brief amount of time down there at the beach, and I'm happy to report that there were a lot of people on the beach or people in the water. There were people walking around, no masks, having a good time. Life looked like it was getting back to normal. So at this point, the controllers are backing off of their false narrative, and people are slowly returning to their normal routines. I personally chose not to go down there and raise a ruckus because I saw way too many people enjoying themselves here in sunny Southern California. So it was a great experience. To be down there. I only live about a half hour from the beach, so it's a place I can visit anytime I want. It was nice to see people on the sand, people swimming, and I did not feel the need to bullhorn a massive amount of people with information, because I think today was a day that a lot of people in Southern California, and hopefully the rest of the country and the world for that matter, would have used to get back to normal. But I do want to tell you that we can't go to sleep, folks. We simply can't back down from what these people have planned for us, because in the fall, we're being told by various sources in the government, in the health agencies, in the media, by the psychological warfare agent Donald Trump himself, that there's going to be a resurgence of cases in the fall. And I want to talk to you about 60 gigahertz, folks. I have deep concerns for the well-being and safety of the children, everyone's children, folks, because I have to admit that for so many years I've tried so desperately to wake parents up to how the children were being sterilized by the technology, the electromagnetic technology in the classrooms, especially these iPads, these infertility pads. And if you have any questions about what an infertility pad, an iPad can do to your daughter, why don't you go to wifidangers.com and have a look at it. It's a very, very sad situation that has been unleashed on children. And I'm afraid that if we don't act and wake up, it's going to be much, much worse in the fall in the schools, because they have beamforming weaponry called 60 gigahertz millimeter wave Wi-Fi, folks. They have the chips. They've put them in a lot of schools. They're being put into a lot of buildings right now. A lot of the stuff that's closed down right now, they will tell you that they're upgrading their air conditioning systems. Okay. One of the upgrades that they're doing to these air conditioning systems is they have the ability to run what's called a cold plasma reactive oxygen species generating system through the HVAC systems. To put it in simple terms, folks, they have the ability to hook up a little device. It's not such a little device, but it's a device that goes into the air conditioning system and feeds into the air conditioning system a type of altered oxygen that can be used to disinfect. But, a disinfectant, folks, is not something you want to drink, and a disinfectant is not something you want to breathe. You don't want to drink isopropyl. You don't want to inhale ammonia. You don't want to inhale chlorine gas. You don't want to inhale peroxide. You don't want to drink peroxide. You don't want to inhale Lysol. You don't want to drink Lysol. But what they've concocted as a result of this concocted event that is being forced down everybody's throats with all these television screens is that the air conditioning system of places must be quote unquote sterilized and have some sort of disinfectant system in them. And so they have rolled out what are called cold plasma reactive oxygen species generating systems, which will not only create reactive oxygen species, which damage your lungs, but they'll also create oxides of nitrogen, uh, uh, and those can be implicated in the Kawasaki disease, and I believe that's partially responsible for what we're seeing right now. It's really frustrating when a lot of people who have an audience that has been given to them by the controllers and has been maintained by the controllers on YouTube continue to ignore the 60 gigahertz attack that is coming on children in the schools. For those of you who don't know who I am, this is Joe Imbriano. This is the Fullerton Informer, and I run a website called the fullertoninformer.com, and I run also the WiFiDangers.com website. And I also run the WikiJoe YouTube backup channel on YouTube, and I also run the Fullerton Informer on BitChute and 153news.net and a few of these other places. Even though the people that run these things don't like me, I'm still on there because I've got to get the word out. Okay. There's a lot of people out there that don't like me because I'm not in their club that is deflecting from this issue. Okay. The issue is they're going to use electromagnetic weaponry to make people sick and blame it on a virus. Okay. This whole event right now was the live test. Okay. It was a live exercise. And what you saw right now is a lot of psychological warfare being waged on you with all of this misinformation and disinformation and conflicting information in the media. Okay. And what we're faced with now, folks, is reeling from the effects of this psychological warfare operation, which, you know, I talked to a gentleman today, and, you know, his company, they tested for COVID, and 4 people tested positive, and none of them caught it from each other, and none of them gave it to anybody in the building. And, you know, another guy, you know, he has it, his wife doesn't, you know, and then there's a guy on the cruise ship, he has it, his wife doesn't. And now they're telling us that you're asymptomatic, it could be sexually transmitted. I mean, folks, everything's all over the place. A week ago, Trump said, you know, the virus is going to go away without a vaccine. And then yesterday he says he's going to use the military to administer the vaccine. Folks, it's psychological warfare in this initial stage. They're getting you ready for the bodies. They're putting these huge fences around the children's schools. Okay. Some of these schools have fences that are 10 to 12 feet tall, and they're not the kind you can scale with normal shoes. I recommend that any children that go to school bring cleats and a compact disc to put over their face if they have to shield from the beamforming 60 gigahertz attack. You see, folks, they're using the oxygen molecule absorption spectrum for communication systems in the new Wi-Fi that's being installed or upgraded that can be remote controlled in the schools. And I did a video on this a couple back on this channel. It's called The Most Important Video in the World, and it shows what happens when they turn this stuff on. And it can induce a variety of effects. But nobody wants to talk about this because they're all in the business of telling you how to get your immune system in order and keeping you focused on words like exosomes and getting into arguments about whether or not the medicines are safe or there's a safe vaccine. Folks, the issue here is they're going to use electromagnetic weaponry to hurt us. And the way we protect ourselves is understanding that they're going to use electromagnetic weaponry to hurt us. And the way we help others and protect our children is that we understand that they're going to use electromagnetic weaponry to hurt our children and your children. And we need to understand where that electromagnetic weaponry is going to be and what that electromagnetic weaponry is and how that electromagnetic weaponry can be avoided, thwarted, and blocked. I can tell you that the most dangerous frequencies that they're going to use on us are also the weakest. The 60 gigahertz frequency for transmission of data is a frequency that can simply be blocked almost by a piece of paper. Okay, it can be blocked by cardboard. It can be blocked by a compact disc. You can bounce it back. The problem with the 60 gigahertz is it's a beamforming type of transmission. They can run it through an air conditioning system. They can bounce it off walls so that it can lock onto you. One of the ways that it'll be able to lock onto you is if you're wearing AirPods, and there's another Apple product that will track you, and they'll be able to put a beam of radiation over your face. Okay. I'm going to keep talking about this because nobody else wants to talk about this. None of these supposed doctors out there are talking about this. They screw it up intentionally. They muddy the waters intentionally. They don't want to go into discussion on this, folks, and that's why I have to do this. And by the way, for those of you who didn't see yesterday, they sent some punk to try to mess with me during my live stream, try to, screw with me. They sent this amateur gang stalker to try to shake me up and scare me. Folks, that doesn't scare me. All right. You know what scares me is what's going to happen to children if we do nothing. Okay. So in the classrooms in these schools, they have Wi-Fi access points. Some classrooms have one in each room. Some classrooms have two in each room. And some of these Wi-Fi access points are industrial strength applications. And some of these Wi-Fi access points have 60 gigahertz chips in them, which means they can transmit beamforming, millimeter wave, oxygen disrupting radiation at your child as they sit inside one of these weaponized classrooms. You've been told that they've got to have Wi-Fi in schools so they can have connectivity to the internet. That is a bunch of hogwash. They can have Ethernet connectivity to the internet through fiber optic cables, which exist at every outlet in every wall in every public school classroom in the United States. Every single school classroom in the United States has fiber optic connectivity to the wall. But they have chosen to weaponize the classrooms. And they have chosen to weaponize the classrooms with industrial strength Wi-Fi access points. And I want to talk to you about these Wi-Fi access points. You think Wi-Fi is safe? Well, hey, they always roll the weapons out as a convenience, and then they slowly turn them up and make them more complex and deadly, right? Wi-Fi is nothing more than a radio frequency transmission of data. They choose to beam it through the air instead of running it through a cable to the device. And the problem isn't so much the idea, but rather the frequencies that they have chosen to do this data delivery. The typical Wi-Fi systems run on 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz. All right. That's what you've got in your house right now. And by the way, that's not 5G. That's just an old school Wi-Fi router, which is a weapon. Those current systems will affect your ability to sleep, will affect the children's ability to concentrate. It affects cognitive function. And as it affects sleep, it affects egg maturation in the girls. And as it affects sleep, it affects the health of these children. As it affects sleep, it affects the growth of these children. As it affects sleep and cognitive function, it affects the educational outcome of these children. And if the children are using an infertility pad connected to one of these things, and they're keeping the infertility pad in their lap, it's affecting the egg development. Specifically, morphologically changing a subcellular component of the eggs in the girls called the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, rendering the girls' eggs useless. Destroying the subcellular component of these eggs that is responsible for running the Zoner reaction when the egg is fertilized by sperm. The Zoner reaction is responsible for hardening the egg so only one sperm gets in, and the smooth endoplasmic reticulum is a subcellular component of the human egg that is responsible for running that reaction. The microwave systems that have been deployed in the schools and the slot antenna coming out of the infertility pad beaming at the ovaries of your daughter in her lap were designed to interfere and affect morphological changes in these subcellular components. And how do I know this? Well, I've done the research. I've studied it. I've studied the information. I have a bachelor's degree in chemistry. I have a bachelor's degree in biological science. I have credentials. I know how to read. I know how to research. And I have connected the dots on WiFiDangers.com, WiFiDangers.com, WiFiDangers.com. If you want your daughters to have children, I strongly suggest you investigate this. Now, that's just with the current Wi-Fi systems. We're now in a situation where Wi-Fi 6 has arrived, and the 2.4 gigahertz and the 5 gigahertz has now had a frequency added to it called 6 gigahertz. That's the absorption spectrum of iodine. So they're now messing with the iodine molecules, which are vitally important for thyroxine production. You've got to have iodine to get your thyroid running right. So is it any wonder people are having all kinds of chronic health problems associated with their weight, right? People can't seem to regulate their weight no matter what they eat or exercise or do. Well, people can't sleep and they can't get iodine in their bodies because, it's being interfered with. By the way, did you know fluoride and chlorine and Clorox and bleach and all this stuff that you're bringing in your house affects your iodine levels? It actually blocks iodine absorption. Your body gets iodine from the air. It also gets iodine from your diet. And if your body's loaded up with chlorine and Clorox and bleach and disinfectants from this so-called pandemic that we have, if you're breathing all this bleach and you're putting bleach all over everything, you're messing yourself up really bad. So not only are we messing ourselves up really bad from being conned into poisoning ourselves and locking ourselves into our homes, but now the new Wi-Fi that just rolled out very recently, it's on the markets now, is going to have a chip in there that runs at 6 gigahertz, which messes up the iodine in the air so your body can't uptake it. Now, that is further compounded with all of the chlorine and bromine and fluoride that you're getting in your toothpaste, mouthwash, tap water, and toilet cleaner. And the shower, when you're taking a shower, you're breathing that stuff. They're putting all kinds of fluorosilicic acid, which is a fluoride derivative, in your tap water. And when you take a shower, they're putting all kinds of bromine and chloramine and chlorine and sodium hypochlorite in your tap water. So when you're taking a shower, you're breathing all that. Not only are you breathing all of that, but your pores are opening up on your head and on your skin, and you're absorbing it into your blood. And when you get these halide compounds into your body, what ends up happening is your body, grabs these, uptakes them, and then they block the iodine receptors, so your thyroid doesn't run right. And so consequently, you have a problem regulating your weight. And I forgot to mention that the regular Wi-Fi frequency, the 2.4 gigahertz, that results in what's called structural isomerism of the insulin receptors in your body. Your body works on receptors, okay? This is a receptor and this is a molecule, and it matches it and it carries it away, and it's happily ever after. Well, what happens is when you microwave a young student, a young boy or a young girl, their insulin receptors become morphologically altered, meaning they still have the same components, but their spatial arrangement has been altered in such a way. And when you're dealing with receptors, if it can't bind the insulin, you've got insulin receptors that can't do their job. And what happens when your insulin receptors can't do their job? You have weight problems. Folks, this is tragic, okay? And it's being done with a Wi-Fi system. Now they're adding a fourth component to the Wi-Fi called a 60 gigahertz chip. And that happens to be the absorption spectrum of oxygen. That's right. 60 gigahertz is going to be in all the Wi-Fi systems in the schools. And when they broadcast with oxygen molecule frequencies, it's not a good thing to have them use our oxygen to carry data, okay? Because if that oxygen's been used up by them carrying this data and having all kinds of weird stuff done to it, how do you think your body's going to feel? It's not going to feel good. Folks, think about this for just a minute. What are we being told that we're facing right now? We're facing what? A respiratory disease that is constantly changing, unpredictable, and extremely deadly? No, it's not. What's going on right now is you're being lied to about everything. What's coming is an electromagnetic attack that is going to mimic a respiratory disease, because they've got these 60 gigahertz transmitters in the schools, and they've got them going into the hotels, the cruise ships, and the stadiums, the lecture halls, the sports arenas. Every public place you can imagine is going to have these things. They're also going to be in the streets in the big cities. Anywhere where you got big buildings, they can bounce this stuff off the walls and aim it at you as long as you've got a good tracking device on. That's why they want social distancing and contact tracing. They want to be able to follow you and lock onto you and let you have it if they feel it's your turn. Did you hear what I just said? Are you folks following me? So the plan is to get you to bring this stuff into your home next, okay? Now that's the thing that I want to talk about here, because the second wave is going to involve the schools. That's why they're putting these fences around the schools, because these kids are going to get hit with this electromagnetic attack from the Wi-Fi routers on the ceiling. And it's going to be a respiratory type illness. I have to tell you, children, that if you're in a classroom and you feel like you can't get your breath, you need to run out of there, like immediately. You need to run out of that school, that classroom immediately. You need to get out. and you need to leave the premises. You need to run away from the campus, because if you don't get out in time, they'll lock you in there and they'll quarantine the place and say that it's an outbreak situation. That's why they're locking you children into these schools. Have you been to your school? It's a prison. Look at the gates. Look at the doors. Look at the bars. Look at the fences. Like I'd said before, I strongly urge all of you to either get your children out of these schools for the fall, or get the school districts to get these weaponized Wi-Fi systems out of the schools once and for all. Did you hear what I just said? There's a really good possibility they'll hit a few schools with this attack with the electromagnetic systems. They'll blame a virus. They'll quarantine the school. They won't let you get your children out. They'll lock the children in there. They'll show up with hazmat teams, and they'll probably give children vaccines in the school and medications. And if it's like in Mexico, you may never see them again. They may incinerate the bodies. I don't know how far this is going to go in the fall, but I'll tell you this: don't buy it. Don't send your children back and demand that they take the Wi-Fi systems out. We don't need Wi-Fi in schools. Children need to go to school to learn. And what's being done to children in the schools, folks, is they're being brainwashed by these lies. The curriculum, the curriculum in the schools is absolute garbage, folks. It's crap. You people that work at schools, you better do a head check, okay? Because it's bad. I mean, and it's bad. You're in it for the money. You're doing it for your $100,000 job at the high school. You know who you are, okay? Right now you're already sitting in your garage sanding cabinets when you're supposed to be in class with your children, right? I know who you are. I see you all the time. My point is that they're going to go live in some of these schools. I hate to think that they're going to kill children, but would it surprise you, considering everything else they're doing? They're killing the old people right now, right? The 60 gigahertz Wi-Fi systems, one of the ways you can identify whether you've got one of those deadly routers is if it says 802.11 AD on the back. The cable companies are going to be upgrading. They're going to be bringing them into your house. Some of you already have cable company Wi-Fi towers. You do know that you can get internet without Wi-Fi. All you have to do is get a cable modem, not a Wi-Fi contraption. Just get a regular cable modem from the cable company. And then what you do is you take an Ethernet cable, and you take that Ethernet cable and you buy a Belkin Wi-Fi router, okay? And you run an Ethernet cable from the cable modem to the Belkin Wi-Fi router, and you plug that Ethernet cable into the Belkin Wi-Fi router. And then you have 6 ports on the back of that Belkin Wi-Fi router you can run 6 Ethernet cables to, okay? And so now you can hook up 6 devices off of one router. But you've got to go in and disable the wireless feature on the router and turn it off. And then you don't have to irradiate your house. And then you have a safe, reliable connection for up to 6 devices in your home off of Ethernet cables. Yeah, okay, you don't like cables? Well, too bad. Would you rather be having insomnia and all kinds of health problems because you don't like cables? Guess what? Deal with the cables. Now, if you need more outlets than that, then you can buy what's called a gigabit switch or a splitter. And all you do is plug that in, and you plug one of those wires out of the router into the switch, and then you got another 5 or 6 or 7 ports for the Ethernet. You can keep doing this as many times as you want, okay? I think I've got about 10 or 11 Ethernet lines going at my house right now for different reasons, camera systems and everything else. My point is that you don't need to spray radiation all over your house just so you can watch me talk to you, okay? You can use a cable. Now, you don't want to bring these 802.11 AD 60 gigahertz WiGig Wi-Fi routers into your home, because guess what? Then they can hit you in your house with this stuff and take your breath away. The symptoms of 60 gigahertz exposure are breathlessness, shortness of breath, dizziness, and even fainting and passing out. Now, that's 60 gigahertz. That's the wave that's coming in the fall. They're going to blame the virus, and they're going to force a vaccine, and they're going to make everybody take a medication. Now, I want to talk to you about this this drug that's out there. And I'll be honest with you, folks, I'm not happy. Hang on a second. I got somebody that's trying to get a hold of me right now, folks. Just a second. I want to see who this is. But there's people out there saying that, this medication that Trump is pushing is good and that it's going to save lives. And, I even had a friend of mine call me the other day and said, I've been taking this stuff and it cured the fungus on my toes. And, this is like unbelievable, right? Like this supposed medication is supposed to, is supposed to like save all of our problems. Hang on. I can't call you back right now, but I will call you a little later. All right. No, I'm sorry. I'll call you when I'm done. I'm not going to interrupt right now. So Trump is, he's come out and said, oh, this drug is good. This drug is really good, and it's supposed to help you. It's supposed to help you recover faster. They've done these studies that said this, this chloroquine drug that that they're pushing for coronavirus treatment is supposed to be miraculous, and it's just got wonderful results. We're so happy with it. We're gonna beat this thing. We got the drug, we got the vaccine coming, and you guys, we're gonna have the military help us with the with the vaccine in the fall. So we got this under control. I'm working with the American people. I'm working with Fauci. I'm working with the health people. That's the nonsense, folks. The action of this drug that they're using, it's an anti-malarial drug. The chloroquine drugs, look, the way they work is they mess up the malaria organism's ability to bind oxygen. Okay. The chloroquine, the hydroxychloroquine, whatever you want to call this stuff, its primary method of action is it interferes with heme catabolism. Okay, the hemoglobin. There are these catabolic reactions. Look, folks, there's iron and it grabs oxygen and it carries it to your tissues, right? So we got the 60 gigahertz mixing with the oxygen, and now we're going to have this chloroquine messing with the hemoglobin. Did you hear what I just said? So if everybody starts taking this chloroquine or a derivative of it, hydroxychloroquine or whatever you want, whatever the crap is they push on you, that's going to affect your hemoglobin's ability to bind oxygen. And the 60 gigahertz Wi-Fi is going to affect your oxygen's ability to bind to the hemoglobin. Now, there was someone I wanted to get on tonight to talk about the ventilators in the hospital and how there are these 60 gigahertz systems in the hospitals. And all the ventilators, look it up, folks. Look up the ventilators, and you can see they're 802.11 AD ventilators. They've got this 60 gigahertz system in them where they can beamform the 60 gigahertz all the way down that tube into your lungs. You do not want to go to the hospital, folks. I'm telling you, because the hospital can't wait to make $30,000 off of you and on the death certificate rig job, and then make all this money for all this other billable stuff. I'd stay away from the hospital. If you've got a child that's short of breath and it's happening at school, you need that child to get out of there immediately. Look, don't even call your mom. Just run and leave the campus and then call your mom. But don't stay on that property and wait for your mom to pick you up. Get out of there. Bring some cleats if you're like in junior high or high school, put some cleats in your backpack and bring a CD with you and put it over your face so they can't, if you might be getting attacked by the stuff. 60 gigahertz is a directed energy weapon, folks. I mean, I've got physicists from 35 years ago explaining this. I'll upload that video and I'll show you that. I mean, there was a report decades ago where they studied this stuff. 60 gigahertz is a directed energy weapon, and they're putting it in Wi-Fi. And the Wi-Fi is in the schools. And guess what else is in the schools pretty soon? Your children. How come nobody wants to talk about this? Well, these people, they don't want to talk about it because they don't want these weirdos following them around and coming up to them and gang stalking them. And they want to keep their channels with these ridiculously fake views and all this promotion. So, they're going to have you talking about, the 500 things you can do to stay healthy. You can read the 800-page book about how you can do all this stuff to stay healthy. Folks, I don't care what you do to your immune system. You need to understand that you're not supposed to bring this electromagnetic weaponry into your house. It's not a good idea to let them put it on the light pole in front of your house. It's not a good idea to let them put it on the telephone pole in the back of your house. And it's not a good idea for them to hang that thing on the ceiling in the classroom where your child sits all day. But unfortunately, all we hear about on the internet right now is how to improve your immune system, how to call the House of Representatives, how to make sure that you protect your health and keep your immune system up. And then here's the mantra that 5G, it's going to affect your immune system, so you got to have you got to have a good immune system, and you got to eat these foods to boost your immune system. Has anyone out there said not to bring one of these 60 gigahertz Wi-Fi systems in your house because it can hurt you? Has anyone out there said, don't put one of these 60 gigahertz Wi-Fi systems in my child's classroom, or don't put my child in one of these classrooms with a 60 gigahertz Wi-Fi system? That's the secret weapon that they're going to use on us, folks. That's a secret weapon that they're putting in everywhere all over the world right now while you've been sent to your rooms and told to wear your masks. And that's what all these controlled opposition agents don't want to talk about, because they've been told not to talk about it. And I talk about it, and what happens? My views go backwards, my videos get deleted, people get unsubscribed, and I got 22-year-old tweakers under mind control showing up outside my car trying to fundraise for 5G deployment, acting all bizarre and tweaky on me, right? And I'm supposed to be afraid of that crap? I don't care about your stupid parties. I don't care about your stupid crooked cabal. I'm not playing your game. I'm not afraid of you guys doing anything to me. I'm afraid of what's going to happen to your children. And that's why I'm sitting here telling you all this right now. Because to be honest with you, I'm just one person, but there are probably 75 million children that are going to go back to school in the fall. And they've turned the schools into death camps, folks, because they put these humongous fences around them, and they've put in these upgraded air conditioning systems that can damage the children's lungs. And they've put these Wi-Fi systems in there that can take their breath away. And when they turn this stuff on and your child can't breathe, he's immediately going to get diagnosed with COVID-20. And he's going to be taken and have something shoved down his throat, and a machine's going to try to force air into his lungs, when in reality he's going to have 60 gigahertz beaming down that windpipe tube, taking his breath away. And they're going to sit there and tell you that there was nothing they could do. I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that that is a lie from the pit of hell, and that we're out in front of this agenda. And I need your help getting the word out. I need you all to download this video. By the way, get the likes up. Would every one of you right now do me a favor and press the like button, please? Okay? There are plenty of you watching this right now. Would you all please press the like button? It's not that hard. That will help this video find its way into more visible positions on the internet. Would you please continue? I'm gonna stop until we can get these likes up, please. Please, everybody, come on. I'm sitting here researching all the time, putting my life at risk to get the word out so something bad won't happen to your children. Please continue to hit the like button, folks. Get the likes up. Come on. Please. Any more of you out there? Please. Okay. We have a very short window of time. By my estimation, the controllers are going to relax things, and they're going to let us run for a couple of months, and still mess with our heads and still tell us this and that and this and that. They're going to say, oh, yeah, the nursing home cases will go up, the jails, the cases are going to go up. They're going to make it seem like this thing's still hiding in these different places. And they're going to keep dropping hints that it's going to come back in the fall, because it is going to come back in the fall. Because, well, first of all, they're going to make an appearance of something in the fall that they're going to blame on a virus. It's going to be an electromagnetic attack on children, unless you and I and all of us can warn enough people so they won't throw the switch. You see, they can't pull it off if we know it's a fraud. Okay? And that's the only way that we can stop this from happening. May Jesus Christ help us defeat this, because this is truly a satanic agenda. You know what Jesus said, you know, it would be better for a millstone to be hung around your neck and to be cast into the depths of the sea than it would be for you to lead one of these little ones astray. And you know, it's really sad, the curriculum, what they're doing to children in the schools. But if you combine the curriculum with the physiological implications of what I just said to these young children, where they're attacking their soul and their spirit and their body at the same time, the millstone is in order. Folks, a millstone was a big grinding stone about the size of a garage door. And back then, if you got thrown into the ocean with that thing around your neck, number one, you'd end up at the very bottom really fast. But number two, you'd be literally just chewed to pieces by the sharks and the crabs and the lobsters, because the oceans had a lot more critters in it back then. It was the worst thing imaginable. Okay. It was like being thrown into a tar pit, right? I mean, come on. You don't mess with children. And yet that's exactly what these people do that control things. They molest children. They take the blood of these children and they consume it. They mess with their innocence. They prey on their innocence. They just ruin children, and now they're gonna physically hurt them. And they're your children. They're all of our children. That's wrong. You understand me? And what is good about what's happening is these people have shown their hand as to how insane they are and how none of this makes any sense. And this is such an overreach because it's a psychological warfare operation to get you to go into a catatonic state of shock. Okay? People go into shock. I've talked about this. I was on my way to Mexico many years ago, and there was a car accident where these girls came off the road on the opposite direction. They got broadsided, and one of these girls was literally bleeding to death when I stopped my truck. And the other girls that were in the car were covered in blood, and they were standing there screaming and crying as this girl was bleeding out of her neck. And I went over there and I grabbed my shirt and I held it, and I told my buddy go to the call box and get somebody over here. I just said, get on that thing and start screaming auxilio socorro. He's a white guy, he didn't speak Spanish. I said, go on there and start screaming that, tell him where you're at and what number's on there. And so I held on to that girl until they got there. They got there in about 5 minutes. We were close to Rosarito at the time. But what I'm saying is these girls that were in the car, they were in shock. They were literally paralyzed to the point where they couldn't even rationalize rendering aid to their friend. She was still alive. She was bleeding profusely. But they've got most Americans in a state of shock right now. And they can't think clearly. They can't think critically. They can't react. They can't act in ways to be cognizant of the deception. And so they can't process what's happening to them right now. And the people that run the media know this, and that's why they're continuing to up the ante on the psychological warfare. They've got a bill out there called HR 666 that's about, it's about as satanic and draconian end of America, Nazi Germany as you can get, right? I mean, it's crazy, right? It's like the total Gestapo piece of legislation. It's the antithesis of the United States, and it's got the devil's number on it, right? And they throw that out there. And a week ago, Trump says the virus is going to go away without a vaccine. And yesterday he says, well, we got a vaccine ready by the fall, and we're going to use the military to hand it out and other people, and we're going to have all this work out real good for you. And, I think it's time for the American people to realize that we got this under control, and, we got good people in the government, and, the good people in the government are going to make it happen. And we're going to come through this, folks. And, I'm going to lead you, and you're going to follow, and everything's going to be just fine. Because, Americans are tough, and, they can handle these kind of things, and you just got to trust us, because we got all these people, these good, qualified, hardworking people. They're good people. And, the good people like you people are good people. And, we got to be together on this, and we're going to make America great again. And, just have a good day. Right. Right. That's what he says. He gets in office saying, he's going to investigate the vaccines. And then he's practically hanging out in a hot tub with Bill Gates pushing him. I mean, come on, folks. This is psychological warfare. Right. It's sexually transmitted. But yet, the guy doesn't give it to his wife on the cruise ship when he's been on the boat for 2 weeks. It's supposedly highly contagious, but the people that work in this factory can't give it to their coworkers, and they're breathing the same air, coughing on each other, eating off the lunch tables, right? And now they're saying it's sexually transmitted even if you don't have symptoms. And they're saying it lives for 2 weeks on a doorknob, and they're saying that it's on your mailbox. And yet nobody's dying from it, and all the hospitals are empty, and all the nurses that I know are getting furloughed. They got no hours. And every time I drive by the hospitals, there's nobody there but the orange tents and the guys that look like they're living in a homeless camp with the hazmat suits. I think they got the drywall guys. moonlighting as entrance text to those places. These guys look like painters from the Home Depot parking lot looking for work that are hanging out in front of these tents in front of these hospitals that look like homeless camps. It's hilarious, folks. Seriously. It's unbelievable, right? And, you listen to Donald Trump, and, he tells you one thing. The next week he tells you another thing. And then all of a sudden, everything. Look, can you imagine Hillary Clinton pulling this routine? Well, you're all going to have hang on, let me try it this way. You've all got to have a national ID card, and, you're going to have to take a vaccine. The only way we're going to solve the problems in our economy is if we open the Treasury up to the Federal Reserve and let them print an infinite amount of money, and everyone gets a guaranteed basic income, and then everyone gets their bills paid, and there's no more time for unfairness in a country like this, at a time like this in our country. We have a medical emergency and a financial emergency, and the only thing we can do is stick together and make sure that we're all the same and we're all equal. We're all in this together, and we all have to do our parts. You have to wear your mask. You have to take your vaccines. You have to register. You have to give up all your rights. Because why? Well, Donald Trump gave us the national ID card, Real ID 2020. Now all the big tech companies are going to track and trace everywhere you go. And the contact tracers are coming to a house near you, right? Seriously, folks. I just have to tell you that you need to wake up. And what they don't want to talk about is what you need to understand, folks. The 60 gigahertz Y-gig systems that are in the schools can make your children lose their breath and pass out. And that is going to be considered a COVID symptom that will warrant either a total lockdown and a quarantine of the facility, or having your child removed and transported to a medical facility. And let's hope to God they don't intubate and stick that deadly tube down their throat and beam 60 gigahertz into their windpipe through that plexiglass tube, right? And by the way, that's why the plexiglass is going in everywhere, because it's really good at bouncing the 60 gigahertz around so it can lock onto you. Don't wear the AirPods. Don't wear any locating devices on your head. Aside from giving yourself, brain cancer and thyroid cancer, come on, right here is your thyroid. Come on. You don't want to have radiation on your thyroid, for crying out loud. You want iodine for your thyroid, so find foods that are rich in iodine, like kelp powder, and go down the beach and, breathe some fresh air. You don't want the tracking device on your face. You don't want the 60 gigahertz in your house, and you don't want the 60 gigahertz systems in the classrooms. Talk to the people that run your schools. Don't be afraid to talk to these people, okay? And just because a principal has a Gucci purse and a cheap leased Mercedes in the parking lot, and she's got a psychology degree with an education doctorate she got out of a Cracker Jack box through a mail-in diploma mill, don't be afraid to ask questions. And ask hard questions. What kind of Wi-Fi systems have been put into this place? What kind of air conditioning upgrades have been put into this school? Do you have cold plasma reactive oxygen species generating systems that have been added to the school's air conditioning systems? You don't want reactive oxygen species in your children's lungs. You don't want reactive oxygen species in your children's face. You don't want 60 gigahertz oxygen disrupting frequencies in your children's face. You don't want reactive nitrogen species in your children's face. Well, when you've got a cold plasma generator and diatomic nitrogen, the inert gas that makes the majority of the atmosphere up, you're going to have reactive nitrogen species created. And what happens when you have reactive nitrogen species created? You get Kawasaki's disease. What are they talking about now? Is it possible that they're going to induce both of these? Do you see how the tie-in's coming? This is really important. Push the like button one more time. Let me just get another round before I go into this next thing, before I cut this off. Please push the like button. Please, I want to make sure it's working. Come on. One more time. Come on, everybody. Come on, everybody. Please. This is important. Are you all there? All right. So here's the con, here's the plan, here's how the 60 gigahertz fits into all this. They're going to give you this chloroquine, hydroxychloroquine derivative drug prophylactically to prevent or aid in symptoms of this supposed virus. It affects heme catabolism. You do not want to mess with your hemoglobin. You don't want to mess with the substrates that bind oxygen and deliver it to your body. Okay. Wi-Fi makes you anemic. The regular Wi-Fi already makes you anemic. So if you're anemic and you're taking heme inhibiting drugs, and you have low iron because of your Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi makes you anemic, by the way. It makes all your blood, your iron end up getting pulled into your bone marrow as a defense mechanism. Your body has a natural defense mechanism. By the way, if you're anemic, Wi-Fi is a culprit. Okay, Wi-Fi makes you anemic. Did you know that Wi-Fi exposure chronically makes your body pull its iron stores into your bone marrow? Yeah, well, that's like, hunkering down, right? Your body says, "Oh crap, it's got to preserve it." Iron is a microwave absorber. Iron is a carbonyl iron is what they paint the stealth bomber with, so the radar can't find it, because radar works by bouncing off of something and sending back a signal saying, "Bingo, we found it." Carbonyl iron is an iron derivative that is an iron absorber, is a microwave absorber. Your blood has iron in it. Microwaves coming from Wi-Fi affect your iron levels, folks, because your body pulls it into your bone marrow to protect the bone marrow. You know what goes on in your bone marrow? A lot of stuff, folks. Ask somebody that's got leukemia. Okay. Ask somebody that's got issues with their bone marrow. Ask somebody that's got cancer, right? Think about it. Think about it, ladies and gentlemen. Now, so the con is they want you anemic from the Wi-Fi. They want you sleepless from the Wi-Fi. They want you weak from the Wi-Fi. They want you fat from the Wi-Fi. And they feed you crap and blue light with the TV and everything else. These lousy LED lights, these big screen TVs, and these computer screens and everything else. And by the way, Google Classroom is making all the children go blind. Do something about changing the color temperature of that screen. Google Classroom is another weapon. It's making all your kids' eyes destroyed. So are these video games. They've got these systems to where they're going to put you on these medications to weaken your hemoglobin. They're going to beamform 60 gigahertz out of the Wi-Fi to mess up your oxygen. They're going to irradiate you with 6 gigahertz to mess up your iodine. They got you spraying Lysol and Clorox all over your house, which is going to mess up your thyroid by blocking your iodine absorption, right? That's the fluoride toothpaste and the halogens and the bromines and all these compounds, right? I mean, they're brominating the vegetable oil. They're putting bromine in the flour now. I mean, folks, you're under attack, okay? So the drugs, the chloroquine messes up your hemoglobin. The 60 gigahertz Wi-Fi messes up the oxygen you're breathing. The 6 gigahertz coming out of the router is going to mess up your iodine absorption, okay? And then what are they going to? They're telling you to wear a mask on top of all this, right? So you're locked inside and you're breathing all this chlorine. So the scam is you're going to get sick. Your kids are going to get sick. They can't breathe. Shortness of breath. When you're oxygen deprived, things go wrong fast. And they're going to diagnose and they're going to treat and they're going to inject. And they may even intubate, and unfortunately, they may even cremate. I mean, folks, I don't mind telling you, I'm not liking what I'm seeing. That's why I'm out there. That's why I'm out there with a bullhorn down at the beach trying to wake people up. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm on the road driving around telling you what's going on. All right? No mask, no test, no vaccines. Don't turn your guns in. Make sure you got plenty of food and water and supplies on hand for God knows what could happen. Because these guys are playing with us like a cat plays with a mouse before it kills it, folks. They're playing with us hard, okay? And I don't put anything past them. If you love your children, you'll do one of two things with this 60 gigahertz planned attack in the fall. You'll take your kids out of those schools, or you'll make those schools take those 60 gigahertz weaponized Wi-Fi systems out of the classrooms. This is Joe Imbriano coming to you in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, the one who paid it all, the sinless one who shed his blood for all of us, who could never come close to his level of perfection, his level of sinlessness, his courage, his compassion, his mercy, his integrity, his wisdom, his long-suffering, his patience, his omnipotence, his omniscience, and his power and his eternal nature. None of us come close. Guess what? It is he who works in us so that we can do the greater good and the greater things than he did. And that is the power he has given us. Immense wisdom, immense integrity. But most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, he has given all of us a clean slate to go forward and do what? To do the right thing and do the work that he has commissioned us to do. This is Joe Imbriano, P.O. Box 4121, Fullerton, California, 92834. On the web at thefullertoninformer.com, WiFiDangers.com, VaxDangers.com, CellTowerDangers.com, NASAFraud.com, Disney666.com, Apple666.org, 5GDangers.com, 60GHzDangers.com, folks. I want to thank you all for tuning in, and I want to wish you a blessed evening wherever you are on the face of this wonderful earth that God has created. Get out, get some sunshine, get out, get some fresh air, get out and hug somebody and tell them you love them. Get right with God, get right with Jesus Christ. Shut off your television and open your eyes to what has been done to you and what is about to be done to your children, and do something about it. I want to thank you for tuning in. Take care, folks. God bless.